Let me introduce you to one of the proud supporters of From the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa floor covering down in Bondurant. Now, for the last year and a half, you've heard me talk about this great company in the heart of central Iowa. They've got their tough core, click together, 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring, great for you DIYers out there. But even if you're just a contractor or you need a different type of flooring, they've got you covered, whether it be tile showers, carpet. Give Iowa Floor Covering a chance to serve you better and serve your flooring needs. Visit them online at iowafloorcovering.com. That's iowafloorcovering.com, or you can give them a call at 515-379-7000. That's 515-379-7000. Thank you to Iowa Floor Covering in Bondurant. As always, we appreciate Iowa Floor Covering for being a part of the show as we welcome my much smarter, much more sophisticated co-host, Kachine Alexander here. Unfortunately, we wish there were better circumstances as Iowa falls to the Oregon Ducks by a final count of 50-49. This is Iowa's fifth straight loss, of course, and it's a loss in which Iowa forward Hannah Stolke did not play. The Hawkeyes unfortunately squandered a double-digit lead. They led the majority of this one. They just could not score down the stretch. And, I don't know what else to say. We're going to be welcoming our special guest here in just a second. But, Kachine, before we do that, help fans. They come here for therapy in a sense. This seems like the second straight game that was lost this way where you just – I know Nebraska, it was kind of a defensive stretch where they let the Huskers back in it. Today, they just couldn't score in the fourth quarter. And I don't know the last time. We'd probably have to go back a number of years before we find the last time Iowa failed to hit 50. Tell us how this thing unraveled in Eugene.
There was something about even our lead that was making me very uneasy. And I think it was because how bad Oregon was playing, and we were only up that much. Like, that should have been like a 20-point plus more because of how bad they were playing.
but first quarter especially. First quarter.
Yes. Like it should have been like
Correct.
20-4. Like it was that. So I was a little bit weary, I would say, in general, and then they started pounding it inside. And that seemed we struggled with that. And then after that, our offense got really tight. Our offense got kind of discombobulated, if we're going to be honest. The girls were running into each other. There was just a lot going on. And I kept thinking to myself, do we not have set plays? Like, in my mindset as a coach, and things are going helter-skelter, stuff is all over the place. You can see that your team is kind of running all over the place with the head cut off. You need a set play. We're going to put you on the block here, this person on this wing. Everyone can see that there is a calculated play that is trying to be run. I didn't see that. It was like still our motion offense. And I don't feel like that is what we needed in that time frame. We needed specific plays to help facilitate the nerves, to help facilitate the players being kind of like, oh, no, not this again, if that makes sense. And I just kept thinking like, okay, set play? No. We're still passing and cutting? Like set play? No. Okay. So that was like my frustration in the fourth quarter, because you could see it was just like pass and cut, pass and cut. There were a couple like flare screens, but no set plays. Get me a set play. I need a set play. So it's unfortunate because everybody hates to lose like that. Everybody hates to lose like that. What's more concerning is Lucy Olsen.
Yeah.
That's more concerning. That she's just kind of really struggling right now. Not the time you want to struggle when we are now 2-6 in the Big Ten Conference. Definitely not the time you need her to struggle. The bright side, because I'm going to give a little bright side, is Sydney and Falter. I feel like this was the first game I felt like, oh, okay. 10 and 15, she was starting to kind of be a little bit more aggressive. I still would like to see more aggressiveness, but I will take it. 10 and 15 is something that I can do. I felt like Kylie Feuerbach played entirely too many minutes. Not understanding that concept. But hey, I've been saying that for a little while now. Taylor Stremlo was an interesting 7 minutes. Taylor Stremlo you got to give and take with her. On one end on the spectrum, she's great, right? She's a hustle player. She's going to give you some extra possessions, things like that. But on the flip side, she's like a black hole when it comes to offense. So I struggle with her a little bit. And I think sometimes you got to kind of play it out. I definitely would have gave her more than 7 minutes. But I'm going to leave that one where it's at. I'm going to leave that one where it's at. It's just unfortunate. That's all I'm going to say. It's really unfortunate. And right now we're lacking confidence immediately. And our offense has to change.
Let me just add something before we welcome our special guest, AJ Guyton, and I can't wait to welcome him to the show. And, of course, talk about this game. And he's got an excellent perspective, as you do, Cash, because you both played the game at an extremely high level in your respective sports. But I think the biggest thing for me walking away from this game is a game, you're probably not going to get Hannah Stuelke back for the Washington game. It doesn't sound like she traveled with the team. So, it would have been great to build on this and perhaps, I'm sure this team has more confidence now playing without Hannah than they did even 24 hours ago. But I almost wonder if Sydney took that personally. And, you and I were going back and forth about minutes and who plays the 4 when she's not on the court if there's no Hannah. I don't have an answer. Like I even said, well, maybe you throw in Jada, but they didn't. I don't even know. She played 36.
I played Tegan, and then that was it.
Tegan. Yeah, I mean, Tegan's going to be your other 4. The problem is Tegan's really struggled offensively for most of the year. She's young. I mean, you can't, we're not trying to I think we are probably expecting a little bit too much out of true freshman, but they just don't have other options there. And I would say my big criticism walking away from that fourth quarter is I wish that Iowa had ridden Addison O'Grady a bit longer, especially down the stretch of this game. You look at minute distribution, she played about 22 and a half minutes to Ava Hayden's 17 and a half. With the way Addison was bringing it early, she had a number of jump shots on, I don't even know how to pronounce their 6'8" big's last name, but
don't even matter.
She was pulling her out from the basket and hitting jump shots. I would have thought that she would have deserved at least 25 to 30 minutes. And I mean, maybe that's nitpicking. I would have liked to have seen her down the stretch play most of that fourth quarter. We saw Ava Hayden and I don't think Ava played poorly. It's just, Addison comes in off the bench and is called upon for that last shot, which by the way, I thought was a good look. I mean, that's what other shot had consistently been falling all day. Lucy's not making shots. They're not making threes.
I do not like running a play for Sydney Falter, though.
Well, I don't know. It was a play for Sydney Falter because it looked like.
Yeah, they ran the same play for Leah Guyton for Sydney Falter to catch it at the top of the key and rip and go right. The exact same play. And I don't know. Sydney is not a breakdown kind of player like that. And on top of that, you don't have to play her close because she's not a 3-point threat. So I was like, huh? Why are we? And I get it. She just made a basket within the offense, though. Not like, hey, run and play for her, get it at the top of the key, isolation. Like, when has that ever been Sydney's game? That was confusing to me, but, no here nor there. Go ahead.
The Iowa woman falling at the hands of the Oregon Ducks 50-49 as we welcome a familiar face to Big Ten fans and to Iowa women's basketball fans. And how about this? Indiana men's basketball fans. Mr. AJ Guyton is with us. AJ, welcome.
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's good to have you a part of the show this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
I wish it was under better circumstances. I'm sure I can kind of speak for the Iowa fan base as a whole, and you as a parent are as disappointed as anyone was watching this game. But as I said at the outset, AJ, you bring a very unique perspective, and I mean, we could sit here for hours. Hopefully this won't be the only time we'll have you on the show, because I'm sure we'll get a chance. You've been asked, I'm sure, hundreds of times about what it was like to play for Bobby Knight and play for Chicago Bulls, etc. But let's focus on the here and the now. Let me ask Kachine at the outset, where'd this thing come undone? This is the second straight time this team has lost a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. What stalled, in your opinion, from your vantage point at home?
Well, first of all, hello, Miss. Was Kachina? Is it
Kachine? Everybody calls me Cash.
Cash, nice to meet you. First of all, but yes, I shared kind of the same sentiments that she shared. I was listening backstage. I was a little worried because I felt like the lead we should have been a little bit more, at least 18 to 20 points. With the type of defense that we play. We did play do a great job defensively. We made Oregon play a half-court game, shoot contested twos, and we rebounded. And we were able to get out and run a little bit. And as the game wore on, that slowed down to a halt all the way at the beginning of the second half. And not only holding the team to 50 points and only scoring 17 points and a half is not going to win you games. I mean, it's going to be hard to win when you're playing solid defense. But I agree, there's a lot of confusion in the half-court offense. We look like we're getting into the offense with 11 seconds left on the clock, and it's forcing everybody to panic, and you can see the panic. And so it's a simple fix. As you get into the coaching part of it. But that's what's plagued Iowa for all the good games in the Big Ten season has been that being unsure offensively and coming to a halt at some point offensively throughout every game. They either get off to a slow start or get off to a fast start and slow down. And you got to learn how to play consistently the best you can for 40 minutes, and that hasn't been happening.
AJ, I don't know how much you saw of Lucy Olson last year at Nova, but I'm curious, she seems to have hit a bit of a wall. Yeah. And this isn't a new thing, especially for players on new basketball teams, but fans, it is a little bit of a sense of urgency, I think, with the fan base, given the fact that, she's got 1 year. This team is so in need of her offense, and she has struggled a bit more here since Big Ten play began, especially on the offensive end. What do you see from Lucy that might be causing that? Is it the pressure of the need there, especially now without Hannah? She struggled even more today on the road.
Absolutely, you can tell she's pressing a lot. It came to a head with the 5 missed free throws the last game, and she had been struggling offensively. She's struggling to find lanes and space within the offense. Iowa has typically over the last few years had great inside girls in Megan Gustafson and Monica Serrano. So they've kind of adopted this mentality of having or playing 2 inside girls inside. And that the game today is a lot more open than that. So Lucy doesn't have space to get where she needs to get. And the other part of it is, I think, and I'm not advocating for my daughter, but I think, or someone needs to, run her off ball so they can get her the ball on the move. She can come off of screen. She can curl off with space and look to attack off of different areas of the floor instead of always having to attack from the top when everybody's facing looking at you and you don't have space. Normally you have Anna in there, you have O'Grady in there, so you got them battling for high-low 3 out 2 in type offense, and it's just not conducive for Lucy. I think, and that this kind of as the competition got more stiff, and and I think the Big Ten from a men and women standpoint has the best coaches in America when it comes to preparing for the other team. And you see it. You have to have counters. You have to have immaculate spacing, and Lucy is struggling because the Iowa just doesn't have that right now. And I think they need to open her up a little bit, get her off the ball, get her hand, because it's affecting her decision making. Every turnover she gets is like 7 turnovers, and you can see it in her body language and in her face. And we all as players, I know Cash went through it. I went through it as a freshman, and it happens. But your staff got to save you and put you in positions to say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to have you just go get me some buckets, and this is how we're going to go get them. And then I want you to play with a lot of energy defensively, get active hands on the basketball, and get us make some easier baskets, some runouts and some steals, and get to the foul line to make life easier for Lucy.
Kachine, you echo those sentiments?
I mean, I said that Aaliyah and Lucy should be playing together since November. So,
yeah,
I saw that being a trend anyways, in the sense of Lucy needs to be off ball. A lot of her stuff when in our offense is her coming off curl screen. She's coming off those kinds of actions. So who's going to facilitate it if she's doing it? And so I 100% agree. We got to get Lucy in situations where she doesn't have to think so much. Mm-hmm. She can literally just catch and go. And if she's trying to get everybody in place and trying to organize an offense and do all of this other stuff, it takes away from her game. So, I've been saying that.
So, give you the other card. There are other people who point to Aaliyah's turnover issues when she first. I think she's cleaned up. Yeah. If you look at her stats over the last 5-6 games, she's cut down on turnovers significantly. But she struggled there early, and you can understand it coming off the injury. It's a true freshman year. So how would you respond to somebody who says, okay, are we ready to put a true freshman in charge of this offense and play Lucy off the ball more? Why are you, besides her being your daughter, you know her better than anybody, tell us why she's ready for that?
I think you can, with today's game is, I think both guards need to be able to do both. And I think as they're coming down the floor, I mean, I know they like to run these flare actions and they like to do all these things to get girl shots. And, there's nothing difficult about bringing the ball up the floor and hitting Lucy on a fade screen or a flare screen and then helping. And also with Leah on the floor with those other 3 players, that allows for Lucy when she does get it and she rips it, she's got spacing. You have to get the bigs out of the lane, out of the post lane, and get them off of the lane a little bit. But it's just all about providing the spacing and providing the lanes for Lucy to be creative. And I think she's a creative player, but I think Aaliyah is good enough at this point. Earlier in the year, I wouldn't have said that. She was coming off an injury. She was nervous. I mean, it's and Cash knows this. I mean, without having a preseason and not being able to go through that battle to get get broken in, it's difficult for a player to have to jump in the middle of the season when everybody else has been playing for a month and a half or a month or so. It's difficult. So she was a little bit nervous early. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know if they wanted her to shoot, facilitate, play. But now it's kind of, you can see the maturation and getting better at taking care of the basketball and understanding Iowa sets. I mean, they have a playbook as well. So, and that's building chemistry with those players. So I think the chemistry is there now. It's good enough that she can play Lucy off the ball for a few minutes a game. It doesn't have to be the entire game. It's just spots in the game where you can play her for 5 minutes, 7 minutes, play her off the ball, no matter who's handling the ball. Obviously, Aaliyah is a great option, but McCabe is good enough to handle the ball in a half court set. Just to get the offense going, and a lot of players can make that happen. But that tandem needs to play a lot more together, and they need to build more chemistry with Lucy off of the ball to see if Aaliyah can handle. Aaliyah can't handle it, then we try somebody else. That's just basketball. We don't leave you out there to dry. But I think at this point, she's respected enough that Aaliyah can make that work for Lucy, and that's just for Lucy's sake. So.
Kachine gets tired of me bringing up the Dallas Mavericks. I'm a big Mavs fan.
Okay.
AJ, you never played for the Mavs, but when you're talking about playing a couple of ball handlers off the ball, I mean, I think about Kyrie and Luka, and frankly, you go back to the Luka Brunson era. I think it helped both of those. I mean, you think, well, this guy's got to be ball. We always hear that this guy's got to have the ball in his hands to be effective. I mean, those tandems in Dallas have really worked quite well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know. I go back and watch tape of you in college and you at the pro level, but how much did you have the ball in your hand? When were you best on the offensive end? Did you have the ball in your hands, or did you work better off the ball?
Yeah, Coach Knight's offense was 2 guards, and nobody dominated the basketball. And we ran motion, and we all had to cut. We all had to set up cuts. We all had to know how to feed the cutters. We had to know how to feed the post. We all had to screen. So it was kind of everybody did the same thing. So, but me, I was really good at reading screens. I was really, really good at using my quickness to get open, to attack and read the defense, read the help side defense, and know when to drive. And which things that you have to do in the motion offense, because you don't know where everybody's going to be. You have to read really quickly. And I think that's where the game is today. And I don't think there are just like pure point guards just dominating the basketball the entire game. You have guards that can initiate offense, they can run the lane, they can finish in transition, they can interchangeable, they can switch, they can defend physically, and that's just where the game is. And and I think Aaliyah and Lucy could, from the outside looking in, we're not in their practices, we don't know what they do, but from the outside looking in, and our what they play 17 games that we've watched, we think as players we think that could work. But it has to happen in the game for them to get confidence doing it. And I think it's do or die now that Lucy, now we're 2-6 in the conference, and it's time to try whatever. It's not time to overthink anything. Let's go. Okay, you want to try that? Let's try that. And I think I'm in agreement with Cash that they need to play together a lot more to get Lucy going and to get her off the ball and get the pressure off of her a little bit.
And for the record, I know it's easy for, especially me as a couch coach, as they say, to
yeah, we all are couch coaches.
Well, you guys have a unique perspective, but I was saying the same thing during the game. I think Kylie playing 33 minutes is just too much. And I thought she played well last time out against Nebraska. I thought she responded to the call. I thought maybe she'd lose that starting role. She came out, played well, but boy, played well again here in the first maybe 5 minutes. But you look at her stats, and I'm thinking, only 7 minutes for Taylor Strimlow. It almost makes me think there's something going on with her, Cash. I don't. I mean, I can't.
I told you, Taylor's. It's a give and take with her, and I said that before. Like, if you really watch our offense when she's in, it's like a black hole. Like, the whole offense stops because she holds on to it. It's like she's like trying to figure out what to do, and that can be very hard. But she does give you good things on the other end. So it's like a give and take with her. And I know sometimes you kind of got to roll the dice. I probably would have went a little bit more than 7 minutes, But considering our offense started to literally halt
Mm-hmm.
in the second half, I'm not sure how she would have been able to help us. It would have just been slower. So she's the tough one. And that's something I don't know if it's just she doesn't know where she can score or what it is with her. But she literally just holds the ball on the wing and just looks around. So I feel like the coaches need to maybe watch more film with her, try to see where she can work in our offense and let her know where she can be effective, because it's almost like she doesn't really know. And that's what slows down the offense, is if you don't know where you can score. Yeah. So that's kind of why I was like, okay, that's a give or take for me as far as like playing her more or less. Kylie was the one where I was like, oh yeah, that probably need to be flip-flops. But I mean, that one I give or take.
Lomansky, appreciate the super chat. Says, welcome, AJ. Blessed to have your daughter here helping the Hawkeyes. Exciting guard. So appreciate that, Lomansky. And we'll give AJ and Cash a bit of a breather. We welcome Kyle Huesman of HawkeyeReport.com and On3.com to the show. Kyle, we always appreciate your insight, and thank you for being here. My first question for you is about the player who did not see the court tonight and who did not make the trip to the Pacific Northwest, and that is, of course, Hannah Stolke. What's the latest that you can give us on her status? I understand she didn't make the trip due to a concussion. What is the likelihood that they fly her out for Washington? Can she even clear protocol before Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean, it would all come down to, the like you said, the protocol of the concussion, if she's feeling better enough, and obviously she has to pass whatever tests they are to be able to be cleared to play. I would say at this point, I'd be surprised if she plays against Washington, just because of the extra things that it would take. I mean, they're not going home in between now and then. But if she would have made the trip, that would have given you maybe a shot that she was going to play. But her not making the trip leads me to believe that it was because the concussion was severe enough that they didn't want her flying. I believe that's a pretty known thing, that you're not supposed to fly with concussion. So if that's the level of the concussion, I'd be shocked to see her play in a couple of days. It was something that we just kind of got word of just before the game, just because of the way that the availability report happens. And Hannah actually played, the entire game against Nebraska. So there was no play that, she went out of the game, things like that, to lead us to believe that she was injured. So we found out right before the game as well. I believe Chad Lystico was the one that reported it first. And I think he had in his article that she's day-to-day. Again, I don't know, what that would entail. Obviously, I'm not at the game, so I didn't get to ask Jan after the game. Chad can have an update later. But I would be surprised if she plays against Washington, just because it is a concussion. There's always, worry about flying with concussion. And they just play on Wednesday, so only a couple of days until that matchup. But yeah, obviously a big loss. She's played well in a couple of the recent games, had 18-13 against Illinois, obviously 16-16 against Nebraska, had a fantastic game. Today, I think she would have been a player that they really needed, just because they needed some extra size, maybe to go up against what Oregon was putting out there. But yeah, I don't have an update. I hope that we can get something before the Washington game. But like I said, I'd be surprised if she plays, just because what the injury is.
And Kyle, did you see late in the game against Nebraska her get dinged up? I don't know that anybody noticed that during the game. And to your understanding, was this something that she even left the game for? I mean, it happened in overtime, right? According to the report from Chad.
I don't know of the play that happened. Like I said, I don't think there was a play in the game that I remember of her, being on the ground for a minute, anything like that. So I don't know if it was one of those where she got hit and, sure there was some pain or things like that, but in the game you don't know that it's concussion. So maybe it was one of those where after the game, you go home, things like that, and then the symptoms of a concussion started to appear. I don't know if that was kind of the route that it took. But yeah, like I said, I don't remember a play first half, second half, overtime where she took a significant hit, which leads me to believe that it was something that happened just throughout the game. And after the game, she started to feel whether it was just a little woozy or something like that after the fact, and then they had to do testing like that. But obviously, if it would have been a significant blow during the game, they would have done the proper testing, and she wouldn't have returned. So that's why I think it's one of those that maybe after the fact she started to feel the effects of it, and that's why she was able to play the full game against Nebraska.
Kyle, based on your conversations with Coach Jay, you heard a little what AJ kind of testified to as far as maybe the benefits of putting Lucy off the ball a little bit more. And I do think, from my vantage point, a mental standpoint, if anything, take a little less pressure, take some pressure off of her. I don't know that I would say it looks like she's pressing, Cash. I don't know that that's the word I would use. To me, it doesn't look like she's pressing. I mean, am I wrong on that, Kachine?
Pressing what? I'm sorry.
It just doesn't look like it doesn't look like she's playing. How do you describe pressing?
Like she's not playing free. She's nervous.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really noticed that. Kachine, you noticed that with Lucy Olson with the ball, like she's playing nervous on the offensive end? She's not forcing
playing, and she's not. There's a couple shots I thought she forced. But I wouldn't say she's playing.
If anything, I think she plays too passive at times.
I just don't think that she has the same confidence as she normally does. Meaning, like, I think that she may be second guessing some of her shots where she might have an open look, but then doesn't take it and then tries to do something else. And then it ends up being a tougher shot.
Right.
I've seen that where she's just not as fluid is the word that I would use within her offense. And usually that kind of happens when you know there's a lot riding on you and you know that, you have to produce. You try to force things a little bit. I wouldn't say it's like over the top by all means, but because some of those shots were open. She just didn't make them. But there are a few of them where I started to see kind of like the word you use, pressing, where she started to kind of try to force things a little bit. She just needs to play free, and she needs help in order to play free.
Yeah. Kyle, what's the willingness that you perceive in conversations with Coach Jay? Has that come up during press conferences of moving Lucy off the ball more? And then my second part to that is we keep talking about minute distribution and who's starting, who's not starting. Obviously, it was a little simpler tonight because Hannah wasn't available. But you did hear me say at the outset, I was a little surprised, especially with how Addie started, that she didn't see closer to at least 25 to 30 minutes in this game, that they were almost split down the middle with her and true freshman Ava Hayden, who didn't play poorly. But again, with what Ava was able to do early with pulling out 6'8" big for Oregon, I thought maybe she would see more time, especially down the stretch. And then I looked through the rest of the stats. Taylor Strimmel plays 7 minutes. In spite of the fact they were down a post player, Tegan Mullaney plays 3.5, and I know she's been struggling in the offensive end. But those surprised me, given the lack of depth, because they really didn't have anybody else. I mean, Sydney Falter played 36.5 minutes. Does that surprise you? And just back to the Lucy thing, and you think Jan is willing to put her off the ball more?
Yeah, I'm really interested at this point to see what changes Jan makes, just because, 2-6, we've talked about where they're at right now with NCAA tournament, with Big Ten standings, things like that. I'm just curious to see how willing she is to just, make some changes and see if they work at this point. You're getting really close to the point. A couple of games ago, if she started to just really mix things up, it would have been like, hey, maybe it's a little too early. But you're kind of at the point right now where, there's not a whole lot to lose, right? So I'm interested to see what she does. Maybe not against Washington just because it's the same road trip. But once they get back home and you got Northwestern, maybe they start to mix things up then and just try some things. With Lucy's shot, I think it's a kind of a culmination of things. There are some shots I feel like are a little forced, but there's a lot of shots those mid-range shots that she was making early in the year, and obviously did a lot of it at Villanova as well. I don't know that it's necessarily forcing it in the way that we think of, oh, she's guarded, that shot shouldn't have went up. More forcing it in terms of, she pulls up in a shot that she's made throughout her college career, throughout the early part of the season. But now it's kind of turned to that, well, I've got to make this shot. I haven't made my last 3 this game, or, I had a bad game last game. I've got to make this, open shot that I usually make. That type of pressing, where she feels like she has to make every shot because of the last game or the last 2 games or whatever's going on in that game. She missed some shots short today. Just shots that instead of, I thought she has one of the better mid-range shots that I've seen of anyone that when I've covered women's basketball for these last couple of years. And it seems like she's just kind of really just putting it at the rim, and instead of just taking the shot and doing what she's done throughout her college career, it just feels like she's kind of forcing it more in that way. I think certainly last game with the way that the free throws went down the stretch for, maybe your confidence is shaken a little bit. And, like I said, just getting more into that pressing of I need to do this. And maybe it's not necessarily in terms of taking shots that she shouldn't be taking. But it seems like every shot is just a little off. It's just not what we saw early in the season. I don't know how you remedy that. Maybe it'd be a little bit easier if Iowa was on a 4-game winning streak right now. Maybe it's a little bit easier to fix that. But when you're struggling and the whole team around you is struggling a little bit, I don't think that helps you at all. But yeah, to your point about the lineups, I think there could be some changes just because you're at the point where why not, right? Why not mix things up and see if you can catch some fire somewhere and something that works well. But yeah, to what you're talking about the minutes tonight. Addie did a solid job, like you said early in the game. I think they went to her 4 times in the first quarter for those mid-range shots, and she was really good there. I don't know if the plan was going in was to play Ava a bit. Obviously they like you said, they split the minutes. Addie had 23 and Ava had 17. They just didn't really have an answer when Oregon started going to Filipina Shea in the post. They just didn't really have an answer defensively. And Addie didn't do a great job through most of the second half. About it just kind of backed her down, and Turner was able to score. So maybe they thought Ava would be a better matchup in there. I don't know. But yeah, I think if they were going to keep Addie in, I think they would have tried to go to more of those mid-range shots just because they were falling. I thought that final possession, whether that was the plan or not, Sid found Addie in a spot a shot that she'd made the whole night. Going into that last possession, the way that the offense had been in that second half, there weren't many people that I was thinking, here's who you draw it up for, right? Sid had a couple of shots there in the fourth. Taylor McCabe's always a decent option with her 3-point shooting. But if you told me they were going to get a wide open look at the free throw line with Addie O'Grady, I would have said that might be one of your better opportunities just with the way the game had gone. And unfortunately, it didn't go for them. But yeah, it was another difficult position for Jan just because we've talked about the lineup combinations and things like that and how there's been inconsistency and players getting better and progressing throughout the season, how that's changed some of how you go about the lineups, and then you get thrown at you all of a sudden Hannah's not out. So how do we balance that with her out? How do we want to counter what Oregon's going to be doing? And then Tia Mulaney was the one that kind of got the short end today, like you said. And she got 2 fouls pretty quickly, missed a 3, had a turnover in there as well. They could have gone back to her again, but, this has been a couple of games now where she's come in and had a couple of fouls or missed a couple of shots. So maybe it was just kind of a culmination of the last couple of games as to why they didn't go back to her at that point. But yeah, overall, just a really rough game. Because I thought they got off to about as good of a start as you could expect. 11-0 on the road against Oregon.
Well, as bad as Oregon played, though, to AJ's point, Kachine's point, this should have been at least a 15-point lead in the early going. Just if you're hitting shots and getting out in transition, that's the other thing. Oregon did a good job. I'll ask you two basketball minds. What was it about Oregon that kept Iowa from getting in transition? Because it seems like the last 2 games, especially the game against Nebraska, Iowa was getting up and down. It was reflected in the higher offensive numbers. AJ, what was going on there with Oregon's defense?
I don't think it's what Oregon did. I just thought it was what Iowa doesn't do or didn't do. I think they don't look for it. They sometimes don't run as hard as you need to. I'm accustomed to watching bigs getting rim run layups on Iowa teams. Not able to see that this year. The spacing. One time they ran down. They got a rebound and 3 girls were on the same exact side, and it's like that's easy to guard if you're in transition defensively if you're the other team. So I think Iowa needs to, and a person like Lucy and Aaliyah and even Kylie, when she has the ball in transition, it's about getting 2 feet in the paint and getting that basketball to getting and spreading that ball out to each other and taking shots and taking advantage of that. I disagree that we don't have anybody that can make shots. I just don't think we take them sometimes when we have them, and we kind of wait, hold it, and we wait to throw it inside. And, when that's working, it's cool. But sometimes in this game, we got to score points to win. No, you can't hold the ball and start your offense with 10 seconds on the clock. You got to be attack and get shots up. Cash?
I was literally going to say, Pretty much almost the same thing, in the sense of I don't think we were pushing that hard. I don't think that our guards are running hard enough. Like, in order for you to transition, even if your ball handler's running, right? So let's just say Aaliyah or Lucy has got the ball and they're running hard. If your guards are not forcing the defense to guard you, nothing happens. You're just, how many times did you see Aaliyah and Lucy a few times where they'd get it into the middle of the paint, but nobody was there? Like, well, that defeats the whole purpose of running. The whole purpose of running is so that the defense has to scramble. But if there's no offense to scramble to, that's what I felt like was happening. Like, we are trying to run, but our guards have got to run with our leading ball handler, whoever that may be at the time, to force it out. And then that way you get your rim runner, because of course you're going to guard the three, although that's not what you're supposed to do, but it happens all the time, right? You go out and you guard the three, and then here comes the post player wide running down the floor. But if there's no guards to guard, the defense just sits in the paint. So then you don't have that. So like I said on our last podcast, in our last game, we have got to push the ball. And that means all five. That's not just the ball handler. It starts with the ball handler, but everybody's got to do it. And Sydney she's got this weird habit where she gets the rebound and she's like, wait, no, don't wait. Like, go. I don't want to wait. So like things like that, we have to get easy baskets, and we can't just become a half-court team all the time.
There's something else I was going to add. Now I just totally blanked on it. Iowa goes from scoring 77 in regulation the other night at home against Nebraska. And these two teams, numbers-wise, Nebraska, Oregon, very similar defensive numbers heading into this game. I think Oregon was a little better, holding teams to around 60 a game. Nebraska around 63, but Iowa scores 49 tonight and loses by 1. Everybody can check out Kyle Huesman's stuff over at HawkeyeReport.com, and you can also follow him for the most insight, and he's the busiest guy on the Iowa women's basketball beat by far. So check out all the stuff he's got to offer at Huesman Kyle on X and over at HawkeyeReport.com, part of the On3 family of the networks. Kyle, last thing for me, and then I'll let you go. How close is this team to the bubble now? You guys keep talking about how, well, they got nothing to lose. They're not that far off the bubble. I know it's crazy I'm saying that. They're 2-6, but if you beat Washington, come home and get home wins, you're getting close back to 500. And I think you said on X earlier today that you think even if I was a game under, game under 500 at the end of the conference season, that they may sneak in. So how far off of the bubble are they right now?
Yeah, I think that the 8-10 would get them in. Obviously, you'd have to see what the matchup in the Big Ten tournament would be. If it's a team that would give you a poor loss on the resume, maybe you need to win one at the Big Ten tournament. But I think 8-10 getting you to 18-11, just because of what's left out there on your schedule. Even if you win against like a Nebraska or a Minnesota, they're far enough up in the net rankings that those will help. Washington as well, getting a road win at Washington would be helpful. The issue right now, sitting at 2-6, is you figure that Ohio State, USC, and UCLA, barring something really changing about this team, those are going to be losses. You add in those three, that's 9 losses, and it becomes really tough to say, hey, look, you got at Washington, you got at Minnesota, you got at Nebraska, you got at Michigan. Yet you've got to win all but one of those, right? To get to 8 wins. And obviously you got Wisconsin, Rutgers, Northwestern at home. You feel like you're pretty comfortable winning those 3. The issue comes is that the games that you are going to need to win a bunch of to get in now are all on the road. Iowa's home schedule this year has, a lot of the bad teams in the Big Ten, and it has a lot of the top level teams in the Big Ten. So the games that you really expect to win, the Rutgers, your Northwestern, your Wisconsin, they're at home. That doesn't really help you a whole lot to get those type of teams at home. And obviously USC and UCLA at the beginning of the year, you're like, hey, that's nice to get them at home. And at this point, if home or road, it doesn't feel like that makes much of a difference. You'd really love to have that Minnesota game in Iowa City, or that Michigan game in Iowa City, or Washington on Wednesday. You'd love to have that in Iowa City. So I think that's the tough part about it right now, is that the games that you're going to need to rack up wins in are going to be coming on the road right now. I just think it's going to be really tough at this point to win really almost everything except those top 3 games. just the way they've been playing. I mean, you're on a 5-game losing streak right now. They don't get to go home at all. They've got to go stay in a hotel now, and they got to go into Washington on Wednesday. And I mean, there's nothing saying they're going to win that game either. So I don't think they're far off the bubble, but you start looking at what's left, and I just think it's a hill that they're going to have a hard time climbing. That maybe they make a run at the Big Ten tournament, but right now it just feels like it's gone too far. I thought Nebraska was a must win. I thought the next 3 games were a must win, and they've lost the last 2 during that. So they might not be far off the bubble right now, but it just feels like there's a big hill to climb the rest of the way.
Everything's a must win. So, you just got to go out there and win one at a time. So, Kyle, I appreciate you taking the time, sir, and we'll talk to you hopefully after a win on Wednesday night against the Washington Huskies.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kyle.
Oh, we have another special guest here. We have another Guyton to mix. AJ, is there do we get a proper introduction here?
This is Leah's younger sister, McKenna. She would not let me be great. I'm waiting on her mom. Waiting on her mom to come down here and get her. But she's my next up. She'll be the next Hawkeye.
There you go.
I tell you what, Kachine, it sounds like, I'm guessing age-wise, McKenna Guyton and Juliana Alexander are going to play at Iowa at the same time. They're going to be teammates.
Maybe. How old is she?
4.
They got Juliana's 4, so they'd be in the same class.
Goodness.
Yeah, backcourt, baby.
In 10 years, we're going to be talking about those 2 daughters being recruited.
That's
funny. Absolutely.
Well, lucky for us, YouTube doesn't delete anything.
Right.
Awesome stuff. Okay, folks, if I cut you off early tonight, it's because I want to be courteous to Kashine's time, to AJ's time. I know we've got several people who probably want to ask AJ questions specifically. Please respect his position as a father of a player, but I know he's a Big Ten great, and people want to talk to him. So let's start with one of our longtime regular callers. Mr. Doug is here. Doug, welcome to the show. Nice to have you.
Well, it is awesome to see AJ. I've been watching AJ since he came to Indiana in 1996, playing against Andre Woolridge and my man Dean Oliver. And I just sent Corey a couple weeks ago the tape where Mike Lewis chucks the ball off of Jake's nose during senior night in '99. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember. Yep.
Hey.
On purpose.
First question would be, what would Bobby Knight say to the girls? That like this.
You wouldn't even want to know, man.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it on here. I wouldn't play the audio.
Okay.
It would be ugly. So I was joking with Aaliyah about that the other night. I sent her a clip of Coach Knight cursing out maybe I think it was like 1994, but they had went on a losing streak and he was going off. And I said, this is what he would be saying right now if he was coaching y'all. She just laughed. So, but no, Coach Knight, it was a different time, different animal. But I think the girls they have to get back into winning mode and aggressive mode on both ends of the floor in order to turn this thing around. We gotta be the attackers on both ends of the floor.
Well, I consider myself, and Corey probably will agree or disagree, but I'm like a Hawkeye historian, and I have tons of questions for you. Like I said, I enjoyed watching you, Mike Lewis, Kirk Hastings. You were there. Mike Davis took over after your senior year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But last year, Steve Alford was the coach at Iowa.
Yes.
Because that was an interesting game your senior year with Steve Alford and that handshake. I don't know if you know it with Bobby Knight. That was a little bit interesting.
Yeah, he came in from the opposite way and surprised Steve. Him and Steve had some beef going on at that time, so everybody got a big kick out of that.
Again, I don't want to ask too many questions for AJ when this is about the young ladies, his daughter.
Doug, we'll get him back on here another day.
Okay.
So.
Hawkeye hangout. You can have all the conversations you want.
We'll get him on again.
I appreciate you, Doug.
Well, we had a weird relationship with the Hoosiers because of Steve and Luke Rucker. You played with Luke for 2 years, right?
Played with Luke Rucker. Yep. He came to Iowa after his junior year at Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Sophomore year. Sorry, sophomore year.
Yeah. Like I said, well, you played. I'm from Ames. You played with Hoiberg and Pfizer and Tim Floyd for the Bulls, right?
Yep, I got some Cyclone love with
Yeah.
Chicago Bulls. Had all those guys there too. Yep.
Yeah, but what do you currently do, AJ? Like, if you don't mind me asking,
I'm the director.
What?
I'm the director of athletics for Peoria Public Schools, which is one of the larger school districts in Illinois.
Well, we know about from all those Illinois players. We know how good Peoria is.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, Peoria Manual.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. All those Illinois guys, probably about your time you played, were. Yeah. So
Peoria Manual was big time. Peoria Central's big time. A lot of Division I players. Actually, J.R. Koch is from an area. He played at Morton. His son Cooper Koch playing on the men's team. So, we got a lot of guys that played in the Big Ten over the last 15, 20 years.
So A.J. Cooper was not in your school. He did not play for your school district, correct?
No, he was at Peoria Notre Dame initially his first 3 years, which plays in the same conference against our schools. And then he transferred to Metamora for his senior year, and they still played the area team. So we got a good dose of Cooper Koch throughout. I enjoy watching him play coming up in Central Illinois.
Did you actively help Mike Woodson recruit? I don't know if they even offered Cooper.
I doubt it. I don't really have any connection with Coach Woodson. I haven't helped Indiana in years, so but I don't think they had. I think Cooper committed pretty early.
He did.
I think he knew where he was going. So
I think Purdue offered. I think he had maybe
Purdue. There, you know what? I do think Indiana offered, but he was already. I think everybody knew. So,
Doug, final parting question about women's basketball, and then we'll let you slide.
Yeah, again, I'd love if you bring AJ back. Like I said, I have a list of players I would like for you to talk with for us, bring on Corey. But I've already said Tim Dwight for football. Need to do that. But
we're gonna get Tim. We got Coach Patterson.
AJ, is it? And again, probably somebody's already asked you this. Is it harder to be a player, or is it harder to watch your daughter and not be able to do anything out there? Like, how do you take the criticism for your daughter? How do you feel about the Hawkeyes right now? And just what are some positives?
Doug, that's like 4 questions.
Yeah,
Doug,
I love it, man. I love it. Doug brought the pain tonight.
Okay.
But Aaliyah is doing a great job. I think they've done a great job of helping her get into the team from her injury. People don't understand. I don't know if Cash has had that injury. I haven't, but I know a lot of people who have had an ACL, and it's a devastating injury, and it could mentally more than physically. So for the way that the team has experience in that area and got her back going and ingratiated her in, and then took their time getting her minutes and getting her an opportunity to show what she can do. It has been a great thing for me as a father, and then just dealing with her as obviously as a player, you can control more, but having to sit as we're couch coaches now, and having to sit and watch and had to try to refrain from being too opinionated about things and hurting people's feelings, because as players we're very, very straightforward, and we know exactly what the problem is, but sometimes we can't really say it because somebody's going to get upset or somebody's going to take it personal. So, I had to be real careful with Aaliyah and make sure and be a kind of a more gentle father as she's recovering from her injury. So she's in a happy place, man. I'm happy she chose the Hawkeyes.
I think I can speak for Hawkeye fan base. Everybody's thrilled that she chose the Hawks. Yep. This is a dynamic is in no way new to Iowa basketball fans. I mean, I think of the Murray twins, as far as he was a big men's basketball fan, and the dynamic there with Kenyon and JR and his son Cooper, Carter Kingsbury and his
Devin
dad
Marble on the men's side.
Yeah, I mean Marble, and I think it's really cool that Iowa has embraced not only Iowa alums, but I mean, Aaliyah earned her scholarship. Let's not take anything away. She's earned that spot, that opportunity. How much? And I know I asked Aaliyah this during the recruiting process, AJ, but when it was initially announced that Lisa Bluter was stepping down and retiring, and that the job was Jan Jensen's, was there any level of pause from you and the family, from Aaliyah, like, okay, we sure we want to do this? Do we want to open things back up, or was this kind of just like, hey, we committed to Iowa, the staff, not just Lisa?
Right. I mean, to be honest with you, we really didn't have Aaliyah, and we didn't really have any leverage. I mean, she was injured, so it was like, I mean, if she put her name in the market and try to go find something else and risk losing an opportunity to play, for a university like Iowa, I mean, it wasn't worth it. It was worth it to believe in, in Jan Jensen and what she's learned from Coach Bluter, and to know her enough to believe that she's gonna, let Aaliyah play the style of play she needs to play to be successful for Iowa. So it wasn't too much thought being put into it. And I think, she made the right choice. And it's not even, I think she made the right choice. She made the right choice. And, I think it's a slow walk up the hill for her. So, and she's showing the ability to play. So I think next year, with a great summer underneath her, I think people with ACL surgeries, it takes a year before you're back to normal. Year after the surgery before you're back to normal. So you'll see a totally different player, even better player than you're seeing now. So I'm excited at what they have as far as freshmen coming in. So I mean, the skies it's looking up for Iowa. I know we're talking about today. We want to win today. We're not talking about next year already. But Coach Jensen is in a good spot to really show people how these freshmen can really play the game and give them opportunities to get a little bit more minutes and to make more of an impact and be more aggressive on both ends of the floor. So we're excited as a family, and I know Aaliyah's excited.
What do we think about this Crystal Smith comparison? Evan brings this up in the chat.
I think that's a great comparison. I actually responded to it.
Oh, really?
It's such a good comparison, Cash.
Mm-hmm.
So Crystal, her energy. That was like one of the big things. If you remember her playing back in the day, she was like quick. She had great energy. She was kind of a pest on defense. She just brought everything. Like when she stepped on the floor, she had like this presence about her. And even with Coach Jay the other day, and I've never met Aaliyah by any means,
right? But
just Coach Jay yesterday saying without hesitation when they asked about leadership, she said Aaliyah. And I'm like, as a freshman?
Me too.
Okay. Like that tells me everything that I need to know, right? And I've watching her and seeing her interact with her teammates, and even just something so small and minute where somebody gets beat and she is already talking as she's running to their player for them to get hers. That's like way above freshman level as far as like understanding the game of basketball. And so with that being said, like I could see that Crystal comparison because she was a firecracker. Like, I mean, even remember in the game when Aaliyah was like flexing on the girl, I was like, oh. So like that's to me, like I can see that. I was like, oh, I like that comparison. That's a good one.
Absolutely.
So, but that was, I mean, I don't know how many people watch Crystal because that was a while ago, but still, I like that one. That's a good one.
The one thing I brought up, so when Aaliyah really made her day, I know she played briefly in Carver, but then they flew down to Cancun.
Yeah.
And that's really when she got thrown into the fire.
Yeah.
She hit all those threes and she started off like 6 of 10 or whatever she was, 8 of 10. And one thing I said to Cash, and I'm curious, I know you said you've never been through an ACL, but your daughter has now.
Yeah.
What do you, with her efficiency from three that we've seen so far, that surprised me. Now, it probably didn't surprise you as a dad and as a coach because you saw her ability to make threes at the high school level. But she came here, I did not look at her as a shooter.
Right.
No, she makes shots, but did her shooting improve substantially during the process because that was one of the first things she was able to do is just stand and shoot?
Well, and Cash knows this as well. I mean, when you're in high school, you're getting double teamed, you're getting boxing ones, so you never really get good shots. And when you're in high school, unless you're playing against a really, really bad team. I know it's a really bad teams in high school. So, I mean, this was the first time, and I noticed it in AAU when we played, she played with the Mac Irvin Fire, and she started to get open shots. And that's kind of when you realize that she has a skill set that can translate to the next level. So we knew then that, and she still, the thing about Aaliyah is when at every team she's kind of gotten on, she's had to end up shouldering more responsibility instead of being able to just kind of just get better. All of a sudden she looks around and somebody gets injured, somebody quits, somebody not playing well, and all of a sudden she's playing 20 minutes a game. So she never really had the chance to just be that role player. And it started, and I told her, I said, it's just, you have it. I don't know what it is. Some players have it. I'm sure Crystal Smith had it. Obviously, Caitlin's on a whole different level. I'm sure Tanaya had it. All these people just have it, and it's stuff that you can't explain as to why the team seems to get a little more energy, play a little better, and things start to happen when a certain player or players are out on the floor. And I think Stremlo has it in her bag, the good Stremlo. I know there's a good Stremlo and there's a questionable Stremlo at times. But when they have it going, it's just magic, and you don't know how it happens. So, I always knew Aaliyah could knock down open shots, and Aaliyah has a mid-range, an in-between game that she's not confident yet in seeing on the floor. And we know as players, that stuff comes with time. When you start to play, you start to realize how you can get your shots. But that's the part of the game where I have to send her videos of herself, because that's what an ACL or injury like that does. When you sit down for a long time, you kind of forget what you did. And she told me, you forget who you are. And I said, and I'm going to let you guys in on a little intel. Right before you guys let me in the studio, I was on the phone with her. And I told her, I said, good game. Not great, good game. I said, but in the first half, you were aggressive. But in the second half, you were not. I said, I have to constantly remind her and send her videos of who she was, because if that injury and being out that long, you'll forget that you got a flow game. You forget that you got a 2-foot jump stop and with contact and finish. You'll forget that you can penetrate and kick. So that's that mental part that we have to constantly remind her. And I hope the Hawkeyes and the staff, they're doing the same thing. It's like Cash just said it. Don't forget what got you here. You're not Rajon Rondo. You're not going to average 13 assists a game. It's not going to happen. You came here as a attacking the basket, as a bucket getter. You do that, and you allow people to adjust to that, and then you'll make the right plays around who you are. So that's the hardest part from the injury, is having to constantly say, hey, this is who you are, man. Don't forget. They need somebody to score about 6 to 8 more points than their average right now. That's what they need, because Hannah's out. The offenses, even with Hannah in, the offense was struggling a little bit. Who willing to take that chance while Lucy is starting to get herself working on getting herself back to who she is? And I think she can get back to who she is. The Big Ten is a lot tougher than people think. And I think Lucy, somebody said that in the chat, Lucy's kind of learning that now. It's not easy, man. And it got even harder adding these 3 teams out west. So it's not easy, man. Like, you ain't gonna just go get 25 a game. You got to calculate it, you got to work to get it, and everybody around you got to rally around you to help you get it too. So Ohio State just found out they lost to Penn State.
Sure is.
This thing is not easy, and they can turn it around and should be thinking about getting to the Big Ten tournament. That's our goal. Let's get to the Big Ten tournament where anything can happen. So, but yeah, so that's Aaliyah has got a lot more to give, and I think as she grows in that role throughout the next 3 years, you guys will see.
Kachine, AJ just brought up these guards that had it. Did you have it?
What you think?
Hey, that was the response I was trying. Hey, that was a softball.
Everything changes when I come in the game. One, I demand it, but 2, my energy is going to take over. So that's just, I'm all over the place. I remember this one coach used to tell me, like, if you put paint on the bottom of my shoes, I would cover the whole court, because I was like all over the place. But I mean, that's just what it is. And you're right. Some people just have like this presence about them in general when they get on the court, like the game upticks. There's like certain things that start to happen. And it's not even so much of what you're doing. That's a part of it, but just who you are. And it's like everything around you changes. And some people, like you said, have it, and some people don't.
Right.
Kelvin wants to know, Kelvin says that he thinks Aaliyah is the most exciting guard at Iowa since Ronnie Lester. Wow, that's
Kevin, you don't love that. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Caitlin just left.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel you, man. I'm our dad, and I'm keeping it real. Man.
Yeah, Caitlin, that was last year.
Thanks for joining us, Kelvin, man. We appreciate you.
AJ's having the real Kelvin in. Okay, so Charlie 19 or Charles 19 wants to know, how do you gain confidence? Whether it be we're talking about Lucy or we're talking about Tegan, we know what Tegan can do. She can fill it up from 3, but she's struggling. Taylor Stremlo's confidence on the offensive end is in a rough place. And one player that didn't play today, Hannah, her confidence clearly is non-existent from outside the paint. So I guess this question is for either one of you, for those younger players and older players who's struggling with their shot or struggling on offense in some way. How do you gain confidence if it's not through seeing that your shots go down in a game? How do you get to that point?
There's so many different aspects of a basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think AJ was talking about it a little bit before, is for me, I'm just going to speak for me. Whenever something was happening in the game and I'm like, dang, this is not working for me, I would figure out how else to impact the game. There's so many different ways to do it. Whether that's, let me pick up my defense, so now I can get a couple steals, and now I can get myself going and get to the basket and get a couple layups. Okay, I'm going to be a facilitator. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. There's so many different areas in the game that you can affect so positively. Like, you can do so many different things. Lucy is so stuck on scoring right now. Like, it's like everything. She can get a lot of steals. Her arms are like, her arms are so long. I realized that today. They're like crazy. And that's how she can get herself going. Get the defensive intensity going. Deny some passes. Get in the open lane. Things like that. Obviously, there is going to be some things that coaching can do, but I'm just talking about you as a player, right? You've got to feel the ball. You've got to get yourself moving. I'm going to get in and get some offensive rebounds. I'm going to get in and get, like, there's so many different ways to get yourself feeling the game, because that's how you get connected back to it. It's feeling the game. You got to get yourself connected back to it, because right now you're not connected. Everything is like, it's almost like you're having an out-of-body experience. It's the best way I can describe it. So now you got to insert yourself back into the game. And the way of doing that is finding different ways to impact it. So for me as a player, that's how you try to get yourself going again and try to get confidence again and things like that. Energy is all another thing. Energy feeds everything. So if you could get your energy going and you fist pumping and let's go, like, you could get yourself going that way too. And kind of like what AJ was saying before, is like helping facilitate to get her some easy buckets, to get her to get the feeling and things like that. So I think it's a two-part, but for me, that's how I handle it as a player. I'll let AJ.
Yeah, I know. It's everything you said is spot on. And first of all, coaches, I don't believe that coaches give you confidence. I never believed in that. They give you an opportunity, but they don't give you confidence. And the number two thing is, man, you got to stay in the gym. You got to keep working. You have to continue to work. When you get in slumps, it's the work that's going to get you out of a slump. It's, you got to be the first one in the gym, last one to leave. You got to watch film. You got to do whatever you can to get yourself mentally back into it. You got to watch and see what mistakes you're making. One thing I learned from Kobe, being with the Lakers for a short period of time, is how to, because I never did it up to this point, is how to watch film when you play awful. Like, and because people love to watch film when they play. Oh, let me get that game. I had 35 and 10. But when you had 7 turnovers and missed 8 free throws, you don't want to watch that game. And those are the games you need to watch. Watch those games. And then when you get on the floor, and it's all about being aggressive on both ends of the floor and attacking every play. And always, and as Isaiah Thomas told me, don't never go three possessions without making a play. So that means without getting a rebound, without getting the passing lane, getting steal, without getting your hands on the ball, without making the pass, the hockey pass, or without scoring or getting fouled. Or I'm tired. What I'm tired of is Iowa ending a quarter with 3 fouls to give. How and why? Would I ever end the quarter with more than at least have 4 fouls? Easy. And I was trying to get my daughter to understand that concept is that's the opportunity to go for a steal. Because if you don't get it, take the ball out, you just might get it, or you might knock it away and make a play. So just think about making plays in segments. Don't go more than 3 possessions up and down the floor without impacting the game. And we need our seniors on the road. I mean, that's a prereq. Like, you're right. You're lucky if a freshman plays well. You're lucky. But our seniors have to establish, and they came out good today, and they established it. But we allowed that wick to burn out, and it died. And so, if I'm Jan Jensen, I'm looking at it like, all right, we're gonna build off of what we did in the first half, and we're gonna watch that game from the second half on, starting at the tip, and see why we died out. And we're gonna fix this confusion of Lucy bumping into Sid, or and running each other and starting our offense with 12 seconds left. And if we have to start our offense with 12 seconds left, this is what we're gonna do.
That's what we running. Yeah.
So every time, whatever offense is called. So that's what Lucy or anybody who's struggling has to do. Stay in the gym, get on that film, watch all of your mistakes, watch yourself playing well after that, and then come out in the game and make plays. But you can't make plays being passive. You have to make plays being aggressive.
I could just
you got to be hungry. Because, like, I remember, like, if I had a bad game, like, I was itching.
Yep.
Like, itching to get back. I need another game. Like, because you're just it's just like, I got to get back out there. I got to get, and it starts in practice, of course, right? Like, it's that next game of like, okay, you're going to see a different me tomorrow. Like, I'm not taking that for what it was and then building on that. But if it's like, woe is me, and you're not going to film, and you're not having that itch, and then that's when your drought just continues.
Yeah.
You gotta have that itch.
If I'm Lucy or whoever, anybody who feels like they struggle, and when we had that shoot around and when we get to Washington or that practice, I'm there early. I'm with my coach. I'm getting 50 makes in. At the end, I'm getting 50 makes in with my 50 free throws in. I'm sitting with my coach and we watching the tape. You know what I'm saying? I'm going home. I'm pulling up my YouTube highlights and I'm gonna watch myself going ham on everybody. And then we're gonna rinse and repeat
tonight.
Yep, we're gonna rinse and repeat every day until we play that game. And then I'm gonna come out like a crazed animal against Washington the next day. And I'm gonna build from there. And you may not have a great game against Washington, but I'm gonna have great moments, and we're gonna build off of that.
I could just sit back and just log off and let you two go at it because this is great stuff. Great basketball talk. We're gonna go quick fire on our calls because again we're already over an hour. So
we got calls. Wow,
hey, that was quick.
We got calls.
Oh, it happens like that, AJ. Before you know it, it'll be at 2 hours. Go ahead.
No, we're not. We're not going to be respectful of time. And Kachine, you're finally feeling. But somebody made the comment earlier that you've been sick for like 3 weeks. You're finally
all of 2025.
Good. Yeah, you're finally back.
Yeah, I started over. It's a new year for me.
So maybe I should just let you host a 4-hour show one of these evenings.
No, go ahead though.
All right, let's go to our phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Alexander. Who's on the line?
Lomansky, Corey, good evening.
Lomansky, good to hear your voice, sir.
You got so much swag on your show today. You might as well go get a snack when these two run.
I agree. I agree. Like I say, there's no reason for me to be here except answering your call.
Well, AJ, the biggest compliment I can give you as an Iowa graduate and lived through the days of those great Illinois players called Krapsison and Ronnie Lester and Kenny Arnold and Lute Olson. The state of Illinois been very, very good to me, my good man.
Awesome.
I got to let you know that Cash was the first one to open the door and says, we need Guyton on the floor.
Well, is she really?
Back in November.
Dang.
I said it was a hot take. I said, I got a hot take, everybody.
Right.
And I was like, Aaliyah Guyton is going to start before the end of the season is over. And everybody was like, what? And I'm like, yes, 100%. She's going to start. And it was like, in Cancun?
Yeah.
Like, it was like the Cancun tournament?
Yeah.
And Corey goes, well, that's a hot take. And I'm like, she's going to start. Yes, they need to do it. And then, well, look at how things have
Hey, man, she a hooper. Hoopers know. So
I'm
not surprised at all. Hoopers just know. And as a dad, I just got to sit and watch it.
Go ahead, Lomansky. Thank you for my shout out.
Yes, sir.
Well, you deserved it because I was sitting on my couch potato like Corey, and I thought, she's got this it. And AJ, the reason I was confident to think that, and gall darn it, Cash beat me again on the hot take. I just can't get ahead of her. But I remember when you played, AJ, and I believe in genetics. I really do. Yeah. And I saw daddy in her. Because when Indiana came and played Iowa, I feared AJ Guyton. Don't let AJ Guyton get the doggone ball because there's going to be two. And you were never, let me put it this way, the lights were never too bright for AJ Guyton.
Right.
And your daughter has the it.
Yes,
I don't think most people that haven't watched Big Ten basketball for a long, long time, the Big Ten is rough. People humbled.
Yeah.
Kevin Boyle was humbled for a time in the Big Ten, even though he went to the Final Four. And you're a student of history. You've seen great players get humbled.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me what you think her mom gave her, and tell me what you gave your daughter, because Cass has seen it, and a lot of Hawkeye fans seen it, that the lights are not too bright for your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And all she needs is that team. You know, she's got to find her you got to be a teammate. Sometimes that takes 1 year, sometimes that takes 2 years. Like, I don't just call it a pecking order, but I see her leading this team down the road,
Mm-hmm.
like other great Iowa guards. And I'll just listen.
Thank you.
No, I'll be quick. I mean, her mom was, I wanted to be clear, and she's not just getting it from me. Her mom is an outstanding pro, an outstanding player from Brazil. She actually lives in Burlington, Iowa, coaches Burlington High School, I believe. I don't want to say that wrong, but she was an outstanding player. So from her mom, I believe she got an enthusiasm, like an unrivaled enthusiasm for the game. I think she got some of her toughness from her mom. Her mom was extremely tough. She was only 5'6", just like Aaliyah, very small, but very impactful on the basketball court, which is what attracted me to her back then. I'm married now, so I don't want to cause no problems. But back then, I was like, this young lady played extremely hard, and she competed at an extremely high level against some of the, back then the Italian league where we met was one of the best leagues in the country. I mean, I'm sorry, in America, and I said America, in the world. And she was one of the best players. And at that size, I was just impressed at how she led. And I think Aaliyah has got that from her. And for me, it was our work is continuing, because I feel, I have a front row seat of how college basketball works, and how the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, and the things that she's going to encounter, and to be able to have those conversations with her after the game and say, you were aggressive. It was Aaliyah in the first half, and it was Leah in the second half. I said, I need Aaliyah for both halves. Mm-hmm. And so that is a continuing relationship. We have a great relationship, and she knows that I just want to see her be great, and I want to see her lead Iowa to special things. And it's gonna be some ups and downs to it. And while everybody's loving you right now, I want you to remember that, because there's gonna be a game. You're gonna have a game where they're gonna be like, why the hell was Aaliyah on the floor that day? So we want to keep that balance, and that's what I'm here for. But she gets that calmness from me. If you watch, you look at Aaliyah's pictures when she takes shots, and you look at pictures, her face is so calm when she's shooting. And that comes from just all the work she's put in, and I had that same thing. It was never a screw face, I call it, when you shooting the ball, because you ain't supposed to be shooting. So she's so calm, and it makes everybody around you calm when they see you calm as a leader. And I think that's the part that she gets from me. So I thank you for the positive feedback for Aaliyah. We really appreciate it.
Terry, appreciate the super chat. Great show, AJ and Cash, with analysis. Thank you, Terry. And Midwest Storm Chasing, Guyton, I feel, should be in control of the offense. Starting lineup, I feel, should be Guyton, Lucy, Kylie, Sid, and Hannah / Addie. Cash, you've answered that question before about a starting lineup, but who was it earlier that I guess it was Swoosh Grandmas, which I love that name, but they wanted to know your starting five. Has it changed since last time we asked you this question?
It would probably be in line with what that person said. The last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think kind of what I hadn't really thought about what you two said, because I didn't play Big Ten basketball, but being able to take pressure off of Lucy while also, I was taken back. I think everybody was, AJ, when the comment was made the other night after the Nebraska loss that Aaliyah was the leader of this team.
Mm-hmm.
Hawk, I won't say that name, but they need leadership badly.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I know it's your daughter, but is that feasible,
mm-hmm.
that a true freshman can come in
Mm-hmm.
and fill the role completely, holistically? Is that reasonable? Is that fair to Aaliyah? And is that something you think she's ready for?
Well, I don't think it's fair to any freshman for that to be put on. I think it's a great compliment. I appreciated hearing it. And I understand why Coach Jensen said that. But for me, if I'm a senior on that team, I mean, it put a fire under me to be more of a leader and to whatever way that I lead, whether it's through my energy and effort, whether it's verbally. It's putting a fire in me to say, you know what, I love Aaliyah, but this is our senior year, and we need to lead more, and we need to finish this off on a better note than it's going right now. So I think Aaliyah will continue to grow in her leadership role. I think that's just the verbal part of it that Coach Jensen was talking about. And, I think that'll continue to grow. But in order for this team to turn it around, it's going to take more than Aaliyah Guyton being vocal or in practice or in a game. It's going to take those upperclassmen to really step on it. And I feel like just aggressively on the defensive end of the floor. I think of making plays. I think, not allowing these lulls in the basketball game, getting to the basket, getting fouled. When you feel like you haven't scored in 2 minutes, it's time for somebody to get to the free throw line. It's time for somebody to vocally say that. Look, we haven't scored in 2 minutes. We need to make a play. We need to run our best play, our best backdoor play, our best flare play, whatever it is for a shooter. We need to execute it, and we need to score. And that needs to come from leadership. It has to come from, our upperclassmen. And I think they're more than capable of doing it. They've all been to Final Fours. They've all seen it at its highest level, playing in those Final Fours the last 2 years. And they just need to just go out there. And I think Cash said it. It's like, man, it's got to mean something to you. It's gotta mean something to you, and if it doesn't, it's gonna continue to go downhill. But if it doesn't mean, it has to mean more, and we have to see it, physically and on your face, so we can feel comfortable knowing that you care more. So no, Aaliyah is not. I don't believe she's a leader of the team. I just believe Coach Jensen answered the question honestly of what she saw. And it's a compliment to Aaliyah's understanding of what it takes to win. And but if it's going to turn around, it's going to come from the seniors.
I think that's I don't want to say indictment, but I think that's a call to arms.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, right.
Like there, and I look at Mick Cronin, what he, he's made national headlines here in the last couple of weeks for some of the things he's said, and there are coaches, Brad Underwood has done that as well at Illinois. He's one of the guys that may go out and call out players publicly. I don't know that that's necessarily something that I like seeing in a head coach. But at the same time, I do think a player, I'm not going to name names, but upperclassmen on this team ought to take that personally. Like, our head coach just endorsed a true freshman as the best leader on the team. Like, no, that's unacceptable. I'm going to step into that role. And isn't that can be healthy competition, right? I mean, you're not competing to be the voice of the locker room, right, AJ? But
right.
Motivate the older players.
Yeah, that's just motivation to me. I mean, I think Mick Cronin did it. Coach Knight used to do it. All coaches do it. They'll say something. They know you're reading. They know you're listening. And it's just a spark of fire under you. It's not personal. And it's a compliment to Aaliyah. And it's a call, like you said, a call to arms for the juniors and seniors. Let's go. Let's okay. We're going to embrace Aaliyah, keep her, watch what she does, keep her leadership in mind. But at the end of the day, this is Sydney's team. This is Hannah's team. This is these young ladies' team, and they're good. How they're gonna be remembered is going to be based on how this year finishes. So they can't, Caitlin and Monica, no, they did their thing. We know how they're remembered. But how they finish this year is how they're going to be remembered, and they have to understand that. Aaliyah's got 3 more years to prove, what kind of leader she is. But right now, we need them to get themselves together and take this team to the next level. Cut this season up in 3s and try to win and try to go 4-0 in each one of them for the rest of the year. See how many games you can win, and that should be the goal for the remainder of the year for the seniors.
Gary wants Kachine and AJ to be motivational speakers. I think that's I'm serious. I'm not telling Jan what to do.
No.
But certainly, and maybe it's a difficult position for AJ, but you would be an excellent, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you would be an excellent person for Jan to bring in. There have been who brought you up on the Big Ten Network brought you up on the broadcast the other day in comparison to Sid, right? But I do think, I'm not saying they're going to ship you out to the Pacific Northwest right now before the Washington game, but you would be a great person to bring back and give these girls a pep talk, in my opinion. But I won't tell Jan what to do. Midwest Storm Chasing says it's painful to watch Sydney double teamed under the hoop, give up a wide open 3. Amanda, says the show is filling my empty bucket list bucket on the fridge night. On this
Frigid night.
Oh,
yeah, it's cold.
I'm reading, man.
It's cold out there.
Yeah, it's -12 out there. So,
all right, yeah, it is cold. It's cold everywhere. What's the temperature like in Carolina, Kachine? What's it like in Charlotte?
It was like high 50s today.
All right,
but they supposed to be threatening us with snow, so we gonna see.
All right, folks, these are our and we're gonna go quick fire, and you're gonna ask a question. I'm gonna cut you off. Again, our plan is we hope to get AJ back if we can treat him nice enough. So let's be kind, let's be polite here, because I know we can all talk here for hours. Let's go to Tony, who has been on hold for a long time, and who I know is a huge Iowa men's hoops fan.
Yes,
so
sir.
you could talk to AJ about men's hoops for the rest of the time. Tony, welcome to the show.
I could. I will. It'll be 2 questions, but one of them will take 1 sentence to answer for AJ.
Mhm.
Okay.
The first one is quick. What was your record against Iowa, AJ?
Oh, that's I would say about 3-1,
2-4.
2-4 against Iowa. Really?
Yep.
Hold on, it wasn't. We lost the freshman year. We lost at
I looked it
Iowa
up. I looked it up on Wikipedia, but I fact checked it before I.
No, it can't be 2. That got to be wrong.
Somebody lying. Anyway, hey,
it's all right. We got to get you to have one. We got to get you to have one Iowa thing behind you.
No, go ahead. No, but I'll look that up.
Hey,
and I'll confirm that with.
Go ahead, and I know I'll be on the next show that you'll be on. I'm
Okay.
a diehard hoops fan, like Cole. How different is the recruiting process now as a player versus a parent? How much has changed since just a few years ago when you were in high school? I'll hang up and listen.
Oh, it's a lot different, man, and it's a lot more things that we didn't have to talk about or think about that are important to kids and families now, and important to coaches too. So it's a lot different. I mean, for me, I wasn't a heralded recruit, so there wasn't much to it. When I was getting recruited, I just, I had 4 schools that liked me, and I picked one of them. But for Aaliyah, her process was a lot different. It was courted for a little while. And and some schools like to talk about NIL. Some schools don't like to talk about NIL. It was just a lot of things to think about. But I was glad that Aaliyah took charge in the process, and it wasn't really a hard process for me, because Aaliyah really took charge of it, and she made her decision. She talked to the coaches 90% of the time. I really didn't have to talk to the coaches much. Coaches can text kids now, that wasn't a thing back then. They had to call your house phone. That's show you how old I am. They had to call your house phone to get in touch with you. But now it's just more them communicating with her, and Aaliyah being able to make the best decision for herself. So a lot different.
We had a home phone, AJ, growing up.
So. Y'all probably didn't use it though. I ain't touch it.
Kachine, would you agree with that? I mean, I know you've been at a game a little less.
Well, I just finished coaching 3 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that. So it's definitely different than even when I was being courted, should I say. But a lot more is more social media driven. A lot more is like the flash of it all now. And then there's just a lot to think about, because before there was a big separation between like really good teams and everybody else was over here. But now there's so many of like really good teams, and there's so many different things to take in consideration. Now you've got the transfer, there's so many things that you have to take into consideration. And, is there going to be a scholarship? There's like, if I was a high school kid right now, like you can't take as much time as you want to now, because
take it.
Your scholarship could be gone in 2 seconds because they done got to transfer in. Like there's so many things where when I was, being looked at for college and things like that, the ball was in my court solely, where it's not like that with high school kids anymore. So there's a lot to take into consideration, and sometimes you got to make decisions quick, and sometimes you can take your time. So
great point.
Our last 2 calls, and we're going to go quick with them. First of all, Ryan, he's been patiently waiting as well. Ryan, always good to see you. Welcome to the show. You are,
Ryan, you muted again.
He's not muted. This happens, and your wife fixed it last time, Ryan. So no,
we're gonna go out and come back. Come on, Ryan.
All right, I'm gonna give you another chance to come when you come back. Put you back in here. I'm gonna give him another chance here. Come on, Ryan's been around too long. We appreciate Ryan.
Right.
Corey, we've got Kachine. Don't react, Kachine.
AJ Guyton, this is a pleasure and a honor to be able to talk to you.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to try to be quick here. It's very difficult for me to do that. Ask Kachine or Corey.
You cut off, Corey.
It did that. Wow. This is
Okay.
AJ on here more often. Go ahead, Corey.
I really want 3 quick questions. I'll see what you find appropriate. But had you ever gone through a stretch in your period of time playing for Indiana or Chicago or in high school, very similar to what they're going through? That's my first question. My second question is, were you surprised at how fast Aaliyah got her strength back and got the spring back in her step? Because I watched her initially and I was concerned. I go, boy, she looks like she's still coming off that injury and it's going to take some time. And then all of a sudden within 3, 4, 5 games, she just got it back. And and then my last question, because I'm selfish here and I'm going to slip 3 of them in, is, you mentioned needing more firepower. Do you see? It's an interesting dynamic with Aaliyah in the fact that she's a great spot shooter. She can. You hit her on that left 3-point line over on the left free throw line extended over there. I mean, it's automatic. So as a spot shooter, she's fantastic. At the same time, she can drive the lane like a pro right now. Do you see like a 50-50 split where she plays off ball and she's on ball half the time and mix it up with both her and Lucy together? What kind of mix do you see would be the ideal? And thanks again for your questions. And we got to get this quad box going more often. This is fantastic. And I'll sit back and savor your responses.
To answer your first question, man. Yeah, of course, we as basketball players, you go through tough stretches. You lose 2 or 3 in a row. I don't know if we've ever lost 4 or 5 in a row, but maybe 2 or 3 in a row. I mean, it's a gauntlet. I mean, you're going on the road to Purdue. You might have to go to Illinois. You might have to go to Wisconsin. It's hard to win up in Wisconsin in the winter. So of course, we've all been through it, and we talked about how to get through it and get back to it. So get back in the gym, watch film. Not be afraid to see yourself, failing on the court so you can fix those mistakes. And that's all you can do. And then you let your energy and effort control it the rest of the way. But, just make sure you putting in maximum effort when you play on the floor. Aaliyah coming back. It was, when she played in Cancun, she had a great 2 games, or she came out early, and then people don't know her knee swole up. After that, because of the load. I mean, when you're working back from their ACL injuries, man, that knee keeps swelling up after each game. It gets a little less swelling every time you play, but it's still trying to catch up. So, those next couple games that I was a little worried. I think it was like Michigan State, and there was another game in there somewhere. But, once the swelling, she was able to get the swelling to subside, and we realized that that's part of the whole journey of recovering from an injury. I know talent-wise that she could play at that level, and like we talked about earlier, it was all mental for Aaliyah. It's all, can I do this? I loved it. I think it turned around, and when she played Iowa State, and she drove in there, and the inside girl, I can't remember their best player, the inside girl, she put Leah on her back, and they didn't call a foul, and Aaliyah got up, and after the game, I asked her, I said, "How did it feel?" And I said, you have to do that in order to feel good about injuries. You got to know that you can get knocked down and get back up. So I think after that game, I think she had a big shot at the end of that game. And after that game is where the mental part kind of started to go away. And now she can really focus on becoming who she is as a basketball player. And I can promise you guys, I mean, it's just the tip of the iceberg. And I'm not saying that because I'm her dad. I've just seen her play, and I know she can do more for the Hawkeyes, and I hope she gets empowered to do so. And then I think I forgot about the last question. It's about 50-50.
He was kind of asking about her game and her ability to.
What kind of player do you see her turning into?
Oh yeah. Like I said, I think she has I know she has way more in her bag than she's been able to show. It's going to come with more consistent minutes, playing a lot bigger role and being trusted. And then once she can get past that, then I think the Hawkeyes will be able to see that she can. I think she can be an all Big Ten guard. I don't know first, second, or third team, but I think she can be honorable mention, third team, second team for sure. And if she has a great year, she can be first team in her future in the next couple of years. So, I mean, I'm her dad. Of course, I'm gonna show her love like that and speak life into her. That's my job. But I think she's just steady enough to be a good leader for some good teams here at Iowa.
Based on my experience talking with, and there's not many AJ Guytons out there with kids who end up playing at Iowa, but I think talking to individuals like yourself who have played the game at the highest of levels, it's more refreshing than the average parent that has never played the game, whose kid ends up being a really good basketball or football player. Because I think you are real. I mean, you obviously are, but I'm just saying, like, as it relates to evaluating someone like Aaliyah, it sounds to me like you keep it real with her. And, she's always going to be your daughter, but as far as playing favorites, you know what it takes to win at the highest level. So you can't play favorites, right?
Absolutely, man. I'll let her know when she didn't give what I feel she didn't give maximum effort, or she didn't play up to her capability. And that's the job, is to try to go out there each game and play to your ability. And if you we talked about her picking up full court. I said, you have to bring a different element than everybody else is bringing. That said, everybody's picking up inside. The reason why I believe, in my mind, we lost to Indiana and we lost to Nebraska because defensively we let them do whatever they wanted to do. And once we started picking up pressure and doing something different, the game changed just like that. You have to, when people are comfortable, Prince was comfortable in the first half. He got a comfortable 12 points in the first quarter. Indiana's forwards, we weren't switching on those all those Princeton actions, and they were getting open shots. We have to switch that. Like, we have to make them put the ball on the floor and create, and it changes the game. So from her standpoint, I'm like, I need you to be different. I need you to go out there and be who you were when they recruited you. You're not going to be able to do them better than they can do them. That's how they play, and that's how they want. No, you get up, you bring, and then what happened was everybody else started to pressure a little bit, and then they added it into their defense a little bit. I like that. I don't care if you don't get it still. Make the other team think about their offense next time. It's called disruption. And I can look at Cash, and I ain't never seen Cash play, but I bet you she was disruptive. You know what I'm saying? And that was the job. And so I think Iowa defensively has to be more disruptive, and Aaliyah can push the needle in that area, is to be a little bit more disruptive, take more chances, so we can get out and we can run. As a coach, when I coach, I hated playing half court offense. I hated running plays. Like, no, we want to get the ball off the backboard and go score. That's, if we earned a chance to get a break, let's go finish the break. And if we have to pull it out and execute at the end of the game, then that's finishing the game. And we find ourselves, running a half-court offense a little too much because we're not disruptive. Let's get back to being disruptive. So those are the kind of the little tidbits, giving you guys an insight of kind of what we talk about and just being a little different. Don't go off and be rogue, but just bring another element to it so that everybody can see, hey man, we do this, we might get a couple steals, we might get them to get a couple shot clock violations. So that's my job, and this just come as a former player and being a coach. This comes natural to me to share with my child.
Lemansky, appreciate the super chat. Says, AJ, you are not old. I refer to it as seasoned. So thank you, Lemansky, and appreciate your support.
Tell him knees that.
Okay.
You know about the knees.
We won't talk about the knees tonight, AJ. We'll save that for another day.
Y'all good.
Iowa Hawkeyes falling in Eugene this afternoon by a final count of 50-49. Iowa's outscoring the Ducks 17-7 in the first period, but finished with just 17 points total in the second half. And the defense held strong basically all night, with the exception being points in the paint. I thought down the stretch, I think Kachine, that their size gave Iowa some problems and didn't help being down one of Iowa's post players in Hannah Stolke, who is not expected to be back for Wednesday's game. The Hawkeyes will take on the Washington Huskies in yet another massive road game on Wednesday, the 22nd, 8 p.m. Central Time over on Peacock. So, folks, tune in for post-game coverage. We'll have post-game coverage right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. AJ, it's been a pleasure, and we hope to do this again. I
What happened
appreciate
to Ryan?
What's that?
What happened to Ryan?
He gone.
Oh, well, listen.
He's gone, man.
time.
He never came back. So we're
All right.
trying for another day. So, AJ, thank you, sir.
Oh,
It's been a pleasure,
problem.
and we'll have you back.
Hey, thank you, man. Great to meet you, Cash. Appreciate you.
Nice meeting you too.
All right, folks. For AJ Guyton, Kachine Alexander, I'm Corey Brown from the Hawkeye of the Storm, and I will post game with Kachine Alexander. Have a great night.